Thank you very much, Jiang Liang. Recruiting you was one of the best things that I managed to do for KAUST so far in my first 12 years here. But KAUST has in fact been a wonderful source of support for my own work. And more than that, more than my technical work, it's been the most amazing educational experiment that I've ever had the privilege of joining. And that includes 4 Ivy League schools and other Department of Energy and NASA institutes that were academic outreach. But what I'd really like to do before I introduce our keynote speaker is just make a few observations about why activities like Women to Impact and the overall Stanford-oriented Women in Data Science initiative are, I believe, so important. So it's a true pleasure to have a minor role in a signature event like this workshop, or any event that Inji and Jiang Liang organize. The world needs a lot of work from the next generation of computer scientists, data scientists, computer engineers, information technologists, computational mathematicians, and computational scientists and engineers generally, as we move away from only theory and experiment into simulation and data science as very cost-effective and fast ways of learning about our world and about the human engineered parts of it as well. So we used to be, a university used to be great if they had good theorists and experimentalists. Now they can't be great unless they have, computing facilities that can support simulation and big data analytics, and especially machine learning among those specialties. So this work requires a level of skill, a level of training, a level of discipline and dedication to achieve competence to get started. And when we talk about AI and natural language processing and other tools to aid humans in the way they think and process information, it also requires a well-developed moral conscience, because it is work that has implications that are more dangerous than simply dividing by 0 or generating a memory range violation when you code. When we train machines that are capable of imitating human functions, we automate and replicate what humans do on a large scale. And that can be for good or that can be for ill. In terms of the way we do natural language processing, the rules-based approaches of the past have yielded to more productive learning-based approaches, meaning that the training set is critical. The way humans use words and make associations between words and feed that to the machine directly affects the way machines are trained. So we can build human prejudices into automated systems if we're not careful. In fact, we can hardly avoid doing that, which gives a special responsibility and influence to those who enable machine learning, including natural language processing. So the people who can and should do such work are very rare in the general population. So we have to find and equip as many of them as we can. So what sense could it make to any society to leave out half of the potential workforce? And I suspect that everyone who has made it this far into the workshop this afternoon is capable of joining this workforce and willing to join this workforce. And with such a difficult set of problems in need of so many perspectives, we need everyone who is capable and willing. And this means that women should enter the computational profession in at least the same rate as men do, and to counter historical disincentives that are still built into most societies in terms of expectations for the careers of women. This means that women should be proactively encouraged to enter the profession. And that's why KAUST's Women to Impact program is so important on our campus, and I would say in Saudi society and global society. And that's why the Women in Data Science program at KAUST got us started in this direction a few years ago. Encouraging women to aspire to all of the opportunities of men and making it legally possible for them is a legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the US Supreme Court Justice, who finished tied for #1 in her law school class at Columbia University, where I am from, back in 1959, and yet could not find a job with a top law firm in New York City because she was a woman. In fact, before she enrolled at Columbia, Ruth was just one of 9 women admitted to Harvard Law School in 1956 in a class of 500. And the dean of Harvard Law School in 1956 asked these 9 pioneering women why they were taking a place that could have been awarded to a man. So some self-correction was about to occur, because the same society that closed the corporate employment door on Ruth as a practicing lawyer drove her to become instead a law professor. And while she was a professor, she developed the intellectual portfolio that led her into civil rights law, and ultimately she became a successful challenger in her appeals to the US Supreme Court of laws that had held women back. Ultimately, of course, she switched sides and became the one to sit on the Supreme Court, before which she used to argue her cases. President Bill Clinton appointed her in 1993, and she served for 27 years until her death just 2 months ago. RBG, as Ruth was called, passed away in September 2020. By the time she died, she was revered by women and men around the world for her courage and wisdom. And my former math student and I, Steph Chu, whose singing you just heard, and I dedicated a song to her called Millennial Woman. I hope you like it. You can download it freely. It was dedicated to Ruth, but it was inspired by some academic sisters of those of you participating, by some female PhD students of mine in the computational and information sciences who graduated from KAUST. So it's dedicated to Ruth. It was inspired by KAUST women graduates, and the target audience is you. It is intended to give you one way of expressing a voice that can be heard popularly, and it is freely available at millennial-woman.com. Millennial has 2 L's and 2 N's, remember. So Millennial Woman is intended to become more than a catchy tune or more than a window on a social phenomenon. It is intended as a call to unify women and men around gender-blind equality of opportunity, one of the great justice issues of this millennium, to be reckoned with throughout most professions: politics, business, law itself, finance, medicine, the arts, technology, and we have to look at ourselves and say, and academia. Just as when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was initially denied the job that she trained for, society is doing some more self-correcting today, because Inji and Jiang Liang and Mona, who will speak with you shortly, decided to offer you an advantage that they did not have when they were at your age by creating this event, one of a series. And you were wise enough to invest a half day to take this advantage, not just to learn new things about a growth area in computer science, and in fact, in the computational marketplace for employment, namely Arabic natural language processing, but also to become acquainted with each other and to get this perspective on the importance of having more women join the computational workforce. And by the way, I know there are plenty of guys out there, about 1/3 of the attendees, and of course, 3/4 of the speakers. So I'm speaking to guys too, because in the burgeoning fields of the computational sciences, we need the women and we need the guys. Progression in this profession is challenging. Certain fields, like natural language processing, in most languages lag relative to English. And this is because English is a dominant scientific language, has a very well-developed web, has trillions of data sets that can be used. So I want to thank you, women and men, for investing yourself in today's topic.